which could be an interesting race there as well, too, because the incumbent sheriff decided last month that he was just going to resign. And so there are three candidates that are now vying for that position. And that will most likely be a runoff. Chuck Melton, Wes Walters, and Ronnie Boyd immediately filed to be candidates right after the sheriff had announced he was going to resign. And not a lot of campaigning had gone into that race amongst these three candidates, but we'll see how the voting turns out with that.
And of course, along with the primaries, we've got our nonpartisan races where this is their general election. So there will be a decision made on those tonight. One of the interesting ones there is the Arkansas Supreme Court Position 3. So we're watching that. That'll be Nicholas Brawny, and he's running against John Adams for that position. But the interesting thing about that one was he was appointed to Position 6. That's what he was currently serving as.
Yes.
But in the Constitution, it says you can't be reelected to a seat you were appointed to. So he's now running for Position 3 against John Adams, a local attorney. So we're taking a look at this reporting right here. Now,
already some results coming in with that. Very, very, very early in counting. These resist 1% of the precinct statewide reporting. And you may not think that the Arkansas Supreme Court is a race to watch. These are the folks who determine laws and will tell us whether a law is constitutional. They do a lot. And years past, there has not been a lot of attention given to those races up until just recent. And I think that's going to be a big race tonight as well, too.
Yes, definitely. And turning back to our local races, I want to talk about where our reporters are across our local counties. So, again, as we mentioned, Bo is watching those bond questions in Fayetteville.
He's got his hands full with that,
He does.
too, by
There's
the way.
a lot to talk about with that. Emily Moss is watching some of our Washington County races, Washington County judge and sheriff. That's been a highly talked about race. So she's following that. We have Jada Daniels in Sebastian County also watching the judge, sheriff, other local races there. And then we have Lauren Spencer, and she's in Paris right now, and she is following the State District 26 seat.
Which is, Paris is right in the middle of that district, and I believe that's where some of the watch parties are happening right now with this primary election. And, of course, we'll be checking back in with them right here on 5 News Plus, pretty much the rest of the evening, and especially coming up on your 5 News at 10. We want to hear from the winners, or at least those who may be in the lead at that time, and have a good idea as to where they stand at that time as far as the results are concerned as well, too. Now, there will be some races that have three candidates in them, and one of them is Tom Cotton, although I can't imagine that would be a runoff race. We talked about the race in Johnson County for the Johnson County Sheriff's race. There are three candidates there. Now, should a candidate, either Grant Nicely, Dale Wood, or Gaston Riggs, not get the 50% plus one vote, there will have to be a runoff election. And I'm trying to remember if that's a month from now. I believe it is a month from now. There are a number of these races that will have those three candidates listed on the ballot. If they don't get that 50% plus one vote, there has to be a runoff. And again, it comes down to that one story I think you did or somebody did about if you voted Republican and a Republican gets in a runoff, you can go vote, but if you voted on the Democratic ticket, you can't go vote in the Republican runoff.
Yes, and March 31st is the runoff date for those. But yeah, I guess this is the first year that we've had that closed Republican primary.
Right.
So if you went to the polls, they asked you had 3 ballot options. If you were a registered Democrat, you would have had to change your registration if you wanted to vote in the Republican primary.
Right.
It's closed.
And so now, if you voted that Democrat, didn't change it, and there is a Republican race that you were kind of interested in,
can't vote on that.
You won't be able to go and vote on that in the runoff. All right. So that's what the lay of the land is going to be. We've already got like early numbers coming in, and I would have bet my house that there would have been a projection in that Tom Cotton race, but nothing as of yet there.
I bet any minute now, though. We will be
I'm just seeing if they even have got this in there just yet. Where did it go? I can see I totally can't find oh, there it is. Yeah, he's got he's got 90% of the vote already. But it's very early in this, so we'll see how it progresses the rest of the night. All right, we are going to. Are we going to stay on this for now, or do we need to go to let the loop play? Or?
Loop.
Okay, we can. They're telling us now that we can actually break out of this now. Again, don't go anywhere because we'll be looping the election results, and we've got quite a few coming in, although it is very early. You'll be able to sit in front of your TV, watch on 5 News Plus, and watch those results loop through, and they will be updated as soon as they hit our computer system. So we'll see what happens. All right, for now, we'll send you to that, and then we'll be back at the top of the hour with some updates on tonight's election.
Because I didn't know where that.
In Washington County, the ballots will look different depending on the city you call home. Jada Daniels joining us now in the studio to tell us what bond issues and other questions Fayetteville voters will see on the ballot on Tuesday. Jada?
If you live in Fayetteville, you will see 9 bond questions on your ballot, but your first answer will determine if the rest even count. Question 1 acts as a gateway, allowing the city to refinance the 2019 existing bonds and continue the current payment setup, while voting no on Bond 1 voids the remaining questions. Voting yes means voters can decide individually on what bonds they want to see passed.
I want to encourage voters that if there are particular questions that maybe they aren't fully confident in voting yes, it is okay to vote no. But also, if whenever they're considering, you have to, click yes on the very first question in order, to even have that ability.
Totaling more than $320.1 million, with majority of that funding going towards question 2 on water and sewer. Upgrades city officials say are necessary to prevent future issues.
Trying to get additional clarification where we can, and also recognizing that sometimes on some of the questions as well, there is a little bit of openness to them. Water and sewer, we know particular projects, but there could also be, something that puts itself forward as, something that's more of a priority at that time.
The questions won't be the only thing on Fayetteville ballots, with millage questions giving voters the option to extend the 45 mill rate from 2050 until 2056 or not. Fayetteville superintendent says it will allow them to speed up the process of rebuilding Ramey Junior High.
So currently with the existing millage and it going out till 2050, we project that we'll have the bonding capacity in 2028 to start construction of the new Ramey. However, if the voters approve the millage extension and we get those 6 additional years, then we would have the capacity immediately to issue bonds to fund that project, and we'd be able to start that project this summer.
The election around the corner, Councilor Moore says now is the time to ask questions.
I just really encourage folks to do their homework, to really, understand, what are those individual questions, those packages going to deliver for the city.
While early voting is already underway for those casting their ballot on Tuesday, polling locations open at 7:30 a.m. Jada Daniels, 5 News.
All right, Jada, thanks. You can find details about all the races that'll be on the ballot next Tuesday, along with a list of polling locations based on what county you live. Check out our primary election guide on 5newsonline.com or text the word VOTE to 785-5000. We will send you back a link to that guide.
The overcrowding.
In Washington County, the ballots will look different depending on the city you call home. Jada Daniels joining us now in the studio to tell us.
He also called on his fellow quorum court members to modernize planning codes. He says the county budget has increased by 2% for this year and that more needs to be done to alleviate tax burden for residents while maintaining growth.
I want the taxpayer to get the best product or service that they're expecting for government at the most efficient price because it's coming right out of their pockets. So whenever I'm looking at a project or a policy that we want to implement, I want to make sure it checks 3 boxes. Does it make Washington County safer? Does it make Washington County more efficient? And does it make Washington County more prosperous? And so if those are the tenets that we're going to put in place for the taxpayers, we believe that brings them victories.
Now, Judge Deakins is seeking re-election in Washington County. He faces 2 Republican challengers in next month's primary, Tim Shepard and Mark Scalise. Shepard is a current division for Fayetteville Police. Scalise ran against Deakins in the 2022 Republican primary and lost in a close runoff. Whoever wins will face Democratic candidate Dana Deree in the general election. So far, more than 3,500 ballots have been cast 3 days into early voting. You can find early voting polling sites and more information on next month's election by texting the word VOTE to the number there on your screen, and we will send you back a link to our full March election guide.
And Watson opposed the proposed Franklin County prison site. They disagree on other issues. 5 News reporter Laura Castleman spoke with them today. And voters in District 26 will soon choose the successor of State Senator Gary Stubblefield, who died last year. Republican nominee Brad Simon and Independent Adam Watson are the 2 candidates on the ballot. While both Simon and Watson oppose the proposed Franklin County prison site, they disagree on other issues. 5 News reporter Laura Castleman spoke with them today as election night gets close.
As a small business owner, Brad Simon says he is no stranger to taxes and regulations.
I could be one of those people that can complain about it or try to do something about it.
That's why he says tax regulation will be his core focus when he takes office.
To make sure that we can get that state income tax down to 0 and start looking at other ways to cut taxes.
Adam Watson has his eyes set on other issues.
I think the real issues that we have trouble with here in Arkansas are really not these really politically charged left versus right issues. They're kind of top versus bottom.
Watson wants more transparency in Arkansas legislature.
I'm interested in tackling, FOIA expansion and direct democracy expansion, things that are just good governance matters that are good for the people.
But when it comes to the proposed prison site in Franklin County, Watson and Simon agree.
There's infrastructure problems here. There's workforce problems here.
It's certainly not the place that is well suited for this kind of massive, large-scale industrial project.
They say the proposed site not only lacks the infrastructure for a prison, but would also create a number of challenges.
It's going to put a major strain on our water supply. A 3,000 bed prison in this area, I'm afraid, will be very difficult to staff.
Both candidates say they will address infrastructure, rural health care, and criminal justice challenges, leaving voters to decide who best represents their interests in Little Rock. In Franklin County, covering news where you live, Laura Castleman, 5 News.
All right, thank you, Laura. Tomorrow is the last day for early voting, with your final day to vote being Election Day on Tuesday. Polls will be open from 7:30 to 7:30. There you have it. Well, 5 News has all the information you need for your county's elections. Just text the word VOTE to 785-5000, and we'll send you back a link to our full March election guide. And we'll have special election coverage throughout election night over on 5 News Plus. You can download it for free and watch on your smart TV devices.
County, some voters waited up to 2 hours in line.
I hoped it would be a little less crazy than on the main voting day, and I just wanted to vote.
And several voters told me they weren't focused on one specific race, but rather the bigger picture.
Felt like a pretty important year to make sure that we were supervising the people who are going into office.
Wanted to cast my vote for everything on the ballot.
Despite the long waits, voters consistently echoed the same message. Showing up matters.
Each and every vote counts.
Well, any election is important. I mean, that's the fabric of this democracy. So, everybody should use their right to vote, come out and be heard.
Village. District leaders say it will fund district operations and allow for the construction of the new Ramey Junior High off College Avenue to be moved up to this summer. But not everyone agrees with that location. 5 News reporter Laura Castleman shows us how the district leaders say it's the best possible site and how opponents are encouraging a vote no.
A decision over Ramey Junior High's future is sparking strong opinions in Fayetteville.
I'll have to move because I don't think I'd be able to watch, it be destroyed.
Susan McDonald lives right behind the new Ramey Junior High School location. She says she moved there for the trees and abundant wildlife.
People are starting to get heated conversations about yes or no for the school. That's just sort of like a little tiny part of what this is about.
Fayetteville Public Schools is asking for an extension of millage, which already runs through 2050. It's not an increase, but Superintendent Dr. John Mulford says the idea is to speed up the process of their 10-year facility plan.
We're able to advance that by 2 years by giving us that additional bonding capacity.
He says the millage will fund district operations and get students into the new Ramey Junior High 2 years earlier than originally planned.
Currently, with the existing millage and it going out till 2050, we project that we'll have the bonding capacity in 2028 to start construction of the new Ramey. However, if the voters approve the millage extension and we get those 6 additional years, then we would have the capacity immediately to issue bonds to fund that project, and we'd be able to start that project this summer.
The Fayetteville Natural Heritage Association placed Rethink Ramey signs around town. President Dot Neely says they want people to vote against the millage to encourage the school's district to choose a different site.
The new Ramey is a large-scale project, so let's just slow down and really think about this.
Neely says the location is unstable, will cause lasting environmental damage, and is overall too expensive.
We are just really concerned about the chance of the longevity for the project. When you're going to be spending this much money, you want to put it in a place where it's going to have a better chance of lasting so it can become a legacy for Fayetteville students.
But Dr. Mulford says the site off College Avenue is the best overall location.
Checks a lot of the boxes that we need as far as proximity to families, proximity to the middle school that it will be paired with. It improves walkability and bikeability for students and families who want that.
In Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Laura Castleman, 5 News.
Early voting continues. We are a week away from primary election day in Arkansas, where political parties will choose who will represent them on the ballot in November. Voters will also
All right, we are back again right here on 5 News Plus. Thank you for letting us be a part of your evening this morning. Man, the results within the half hour have really started to come in. We have one county, Washington County, that has released all of its early voting numbers. And if we want to take that, if we can show you what we have right now for Washington County. This is for the county coroner's office. Mike Neville is with 53% of the vote so far. Is that Washington County? I guess it is. This is for the circuit judge position. Kristen Pollock and Wendy Howerton, Seth Creed. They're going to be a close race. April Shy and Maria McSpirit, no contest there, at least for right now, for Arkansas Circuit Judge District 4.
Yeah, and again, these are just early voting numbers, so things still could change for some of these races here. This is Circuit Judge District 4, Division 8. We've got Diane Warren with 56% of the vote. And now we're taking a look at some of our school elections. This is what we have for early voting for the Greenland School millage. Got 55% voting against that one.
Yeah, and this is the Farmington School millage. This is a renewal of those millage rates for the school district. For Farmington, 60%. Again, this is just early voting, 60% approving that renewing of the millage. This is no surprise here. Tom Cotton easily defeating two of his Republican contenders. Tom Cotton with 81% of the vote statewide so far. On the Democratic side, Haley Schaffner is ahead of Ethan Dunbar by a substantial margin. Again, very few votes have been counted statewide on that right now.
Yeah, 4% reporting on this one. U.S. House District 2 got French Hill with 74% of the vote for this one. And this is the District 2 Democratic primary. We have Chris Jones, 85% of the vote for this one.
All right, we can tell you that in the Washington County judges race, right now, Tim Shepard with 49% of the vote. Incumbent Patrick Deakins has 32%, Mark Scalise with 19% of the vote. That again, just with the early vote numbers that have been counted. Another race in Washington County we are following, of course, is for sheriff. Right now, incumbent Jay Cantrell has 70% of the vote, and Chief of Staff Mike Stewart has 30% of the vote in Washington County. Here are the bonds. Now, this is what we've been kind of waiting for tonight so far. Right now, the question number one is the continuation of the tax that's already on the books in Fayetteville that will help pay for more than $300 million in bonds. Right now, that question one, has 79% of the vote. Against is 21%. That is still very early, but then the rest of the bond issues themselves are separate questions that are on the ballot, and there are for different projects. So even if that question one gets approved, there could be some projects not get approved based on tonight's vote.
Yeah, so they all kind of hinge on question
exactly,
one.
Yes.
But then they're independent. After that, you can decide on those. So I guess we can go through those, how those stand.
Here we
right
go,
now.
yes. This is for the improvements to the water system, 86% of the vote. People are for that question.
Which, by the way, this one was significantly the most money. I believe all of these bonds total about $320 million.
Right.
This one was over $100 million just for this one here.
Question 3, I believe we have the result of that as well, too. That is for the new improvements to the park system. Again, overwhelming support with 79% of the vote there.
And then bond question 4, it has to do with the animal services facility. If we can pull that one up as well. We've got 83% of the vote for this one. Overwhelming majority there from early voting. You know, this, and it's what is not surprising here is how much these are being approved so far. But, you know, the night could change. That number could get a lot closer. This is to improve the trail system in the city of Fayetteville. This is bond question number 5. Again, 76% support there, 24% against that part of this bond proposal, these bond proposals. I think one of the biggest ones that we have also followed throughout the night was the Aquatic Center. And I believe that is question number 6.
6?
Question 8, I believe.
Question 8 is, okay, this is to improve the transportation system in the city of Fayetteville. 83% supporting that so far. There is now, see, this is a little bit closer. Now, one of the interviews that we had that I believe Bo talked about in our newscast was a person voted for everything else except for the aquatic center. Yeah. This is multi-million-dollar as well. This would go into a park in Fayetteville with 52% supporting it, 48%. That's going to be an interesting situation the rest of tonight to see how that pans out by the end of the night. Will that get passed? Will this be the only one that doesn't pass and all of the other ones actually get approved? But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and again, these are just early voting numbers.
Sure.
So with close races like that one, there's still a lot to be seen. I know there's been a lot of conversation around that, the $61 million going towards that aquatic center. Some people, I don't think, can justify the cost of that. So lots of conversation around this one. This is
for the fire department, yes.
Yes, bond question 9, supporting the fire department. This may be the largest majority that we've seen so far, for this one. 87% of early voters and absentee ballots.
All right, let's take you back to that Washington County judges race. I'm going to click up here and get it up here myself, the actual race itself. There's the judges race. Right now, Jay Cantrell with 70% of the vote. Mike Stewart has 30%. Again, this is just with early voting and absentee voting counted so far. This, I would assume, would get a little bit closer as the rest of the county weighs in, but you never know about that. Now, as far as the county judges race is concerned, Tim Shepard, Patrick Deakins, and Mark Scalise are involved in that race, and this could end up actually being a runoff. And if it were to end right now, there would be a runoff between Tim Shepard and Patrick Deakins. Tim Shepard right now with 49% of the vote counted. Patrick Deakins, the incumbent, has 32%, and Mark Scalise has 19%, with just the early voting coming in on that as well. All right.
Yeah, this will be a close one to watch.
So far, nothing out of Sebastian County or in parts of the River Valley. One thing that I'm really interested in is this District 26 race, the Senate District 26, and we actually do have some numbers that are in with that. Brad Simon, 77% of the vote. Adam Watson with 23% of the vote. You remember the path that Brad Simon had to get to this. There were lawsuits that were filed. There had to be a Republican primary for this. Then there had to be a runoff between Brad Simon and Wade Dunn. Brad Simon came out on top with that. And right now he's with 77% of the vote. Adam Watson with 23% of the vote.
Yeah, and then Lauren Spencer is out covering this one. Big talker, of course, and there's still more to come. Again, we're now off of early voting. This is actually, we have
district-wide,
15% of precincts reporting in this one. So big majority there.
What's really interesting about this race, and I think this is what's going to be, this is what will come to light, I think, as the night progresses. Both these candidates pretty much campaigned on not voting for that massive prison project in Charleston and Franklin County. Brad Simon, I think, is the one that was the most outspoken about this, although Adam Watson was in charge of the group that was against this. And I would assume he would have gotten a lot of support. There still can be that will show up between now and the end of the night tonight. But suffice it to say that whoever wins this is going to be the next state senator in District 26 to fill the unexpired term of Gary Stubblefield. And you wonder what'll happen with that vote should it come up again, and what the vote will be for whoever wins this race after tonight. So we'll see what happens.
It'll be interesting to see which counties show out with the most votes as well, because of course in Franklin County people certainly have an opinion about this seat, but also Sebastian County, surrounding counties,
Logan County, Johnson County. Still quite a bit to count on this one as well tonight. And I'm just trying to think of, see if there's any other numbers that have come in. Still nothing out of Sebastian County. We've got a number of races there with the county judge, the county sheriff, treasurer collector. I believe even more locally in Sebastian County, a couple of judges races are on the ballot tonight. And we'll try to follow that as best we can. Also in Scott County, there is a sheriff collector's race going on there. There is a judge's race in Scott County as well. And as soon as we get those numbers, we will bring that to you. All right, do we have those? No, those have already been updated. So the last we have are, okay, they just picked Tom Cotton. I believe it just came across that I believe the AP is now projecting, so it only took 40 minutes. I thought it would take 4 minutes.
Two or four.
It took 40 minutes to get AP to project that Tom Cotton will easily win the Republican nomination for Arkansas senator, and he will face the two candidates. Oh, it's up. Okay, there it is. Tom Cotton. Yeah, the AP is projecting Tom Cotton 82% of the vote. There was no way that was going to be any less than 70 or 75%. Right now, it's at 82%, and
he will go on to face Hallie Schaffner, Ethan Dunbar. And
there
we'll have to
I couldn't
see
find
where.
The darn thing. Yes.
Yes, and so Hallie Schaffner is in the lead right now on that one.
Yeah, and there's some weird numbers coming in with this. I don't know that that's been separated.
I don't
enough.
think these are accurate that we have, but last time we checked, she was in the lead by quite a bit for the Democratic.
It's showing
primary.
that Ethan Dunbar has 0 votes. I can't imagine that's
not
the case right now, but. Yeah, we're getting some weird numbers coming in from AP. But as we talked about at 7:30 tonight, that we knew that Tom Cotton was going to easily win his party's nomination. It's just a matter now of who he's going to face in November.
Mm-hmm. And Hallie Schaffner, she actually announced that she was going to run against Cotton in May of last year. And one thing that's interesting about her is she's a 6th-generation Arkansas rice farmer.
Yep.
So that's kind of what she's running on. She said that after 9 years of running her family's farm, she had to shut it down. And so that's what made her want to run for U.S. Senate. She says in the interest of Arkansas families like hers. So then we also have Ethan Dunbar, he is the mayor of Louisville right now as well. So those are the two people.
Yeah, see, those are those wonky numbers.
These numbers are not quite right, but
we're going to get with AP and try to figure that out. All right, let's take a break. Let's get you back to 5 News Plus programming. And again, we're going to be looping the election results as they come in. So stick with us. We will be back in about 15 or 20 minutes with another update. In the meantime, check out these updates now on 5 News Plus. What bond issues and other questions Fayetteville voters will see on the ballot on Tuesday. Jada?
If you live in Fayetteville, you will see 9 bond questions on your ballot, but your first answer will determine if the rest even count. Question 1 acts as a gateway, allowing the city to refinance the 2019 existing bonds and continue the current payment setup, while voting no on Bond 1 voids the remaining questions. Voting yes means voters can decide individually on what bonds they want to see passed.
I want to encourage voters that if there are particular questions that maybe they aren't fully confident in voting yes, it is okay to vote no. But also, if whenever they're considering, you have to, click yes on the very first question in order, to even have that ability.
Totaling more than $320.1 million, with majority of that funding going towards question 2 on water and sewer. Upgrades city officials say are necessary to prevent future issues.
Trying to get additional clarification where we can, and also recognizing that sometimes on some of the questions as well, there is a little bit of openness to them, water and sewer. We know particular projects, but there could also be, something that puts itself forward as, something that's more of a priority at that time.
The questions won't be the only thing on Fayetteville ballots, with millage questions giving voters the option to extend the 45 mill rate from 2050 until 2056 or not. Fayetteville superintendent says it will allow them to speed up the process of rebuilding Ramey Junior High.
So currently with the existing millage and it going out till 2050, we project that we'll have the bonding capacity in 2028 to start construction of the new Ramey. However, if the voters approve the millage extension and we get those 6 additional years, then we would have the capacity immediately to issue bonds to fund that project, and we'd be able to start that project this summer.
The election around the corner, Councilor Moore says now is the time to ask questions.
I just really encourage folks to do their homework, to really, understand, what are those individual questions, those packages going to deliver for the city.
While early voting is already underway for those casting their ballot on Tuesday, polling locations open at 7:30 a.m. Jada Daniels, 5 News.
All right, Jada, thanks. You can find details about all the races that'll be on the ballot next Tuesday, along with a list of polling locations based on what county you live. Check out our primary election guide on 5newsonline.com or text the word VOTE to 785-5000. We will send you back a link to that guide.
Tonight, County Judge Patrick Deakins discusses the state of Washington County. Growth was the centerpiece of his address. He highlighted projects the county has completed, like the Emergency Operations Center and the Overcrowding Jail Initiative. He also called on his fellow quorum court members to modernize planning codes.
Now that it's about 8:30, we want to break in just to give you an update on some of the local races that we are just getting some numbers in. I believe you saw that a second ago as it was looping through, but we have our first numbers now coming in from Sebastian County, and there are a couple of big races there that we have been following since day one. One is the county judge, the other is the county sheriff. Hobie Runyon the current sheriff decided not to run for re-election. And we can tell you that in the Sebastian County judge's race, the incumbent Steve Holtz has 82% of the vote. Former clerk Ken Blevins has 18% of the vote. No surprise there that Judge Holtz was going to win re-election there. What's interesting now is in the sheriff's race. There has been a lot of talk about this sheriff's race. If you followed it on social media, a lot of back and forth between these two candidates and supporters of these two candidates, John Miller and Wyatt McIntyre. Mac McIntyre, as I believe everybody knows. But right now, and if I was counting this right, and you help me with my math here, what's 90 minus 25? 65?
65.
There is a 65-point vote difference between these two candidates for Sebastian County Sheriff.
Yeah, that just shows you how much these primary elections matter, because, I mean, the difference is so small between these. But this is what we're looking at right now for Sebastian County Sheriff.
We knew that this was going to be a very tight race, and right now it is a very tight race. This just only, though, with the early voting and absentee voting. There's still a lot of votes to count here, but I get a feeling that this is going to be a close race as the evening progresses. One other county race there in Sebastian County, it involves the county treasurer-collector. Laura Rice has 59% of the vote, and Tammy Brown has 41% of the vote. I believe we also now have some of the numbers that have been updated, at least in some of these state house races. And I believe we can tell you that in District 24, and I know I'm bouncing around here for the control room, but Charlene Fite, who was the District 24 state rep until she retired a few years ago, decided that she was going to come back and run again. Right now, she's got 72% of the vote, and Melissa Kohler has 24% of the vote. District 26, this is the one I believe that Lauren Spencer is watching closely as well, too, and we'll hear from her tonight at 10, but Brad Simon with 72%. Adam Watson with 28%.
And we also have some that they're projecting already here.
Oh my God,
there's
I
a
didn't
bunch
see
actually.
This. Yes, all right.
If we want to go to those, we've got the state land commissioner race. This is Cole Jester and Christian Olson. Right now, we've got 60 or 72% of the vote to Secretary of State Cole Jester for land commissioner. So looks like AP is projected that. He is the winner of this one.
Of course, we can tell you, as we reported about 20 minutes ago, that Tom Cotton easily winning the Republican nomination for his reelection over two other candidates, Micah Ashby and Jeb Little. In the Democratic primary, though, in that race, Hallie Schaffner has 81% of the vote there. So if it continues on the track that it's on right now, it is going to be Hallie Schaffner and Tom Cotton vying for the U.S. Senate in November, the U.S. Senate race in November.
We're also looking at, we had our Democratic primary to see who is going to face Governor Sanders in the November election. I think we've got a projected winner for that one as well.
Fred Love
is with 83% of the vote.
AP has projected Fred Love. Yes. So it's going to be Fred Love and Sarah Huckabee Sanders come November in the Arkansas governor's race. Sufa Mays with 17%. Interesting about her, she has run before. She is a Bentonville businesswoman, and she ran, I believe it was 3 or 4 years, at least 4 years ago, if I remember right.
I think it may have been 2022.
That she ran against Sarah Huckabee Sanders
and
there.
I believe she lost the primary that year to Chris Jones, who is also.
That's right, yes. I was looking to see.
He is running for House District 2, the Democratic primary for that one. And it looks like that one, we have a projected winner as well, and it is Chris Jones with 94% of the vote.
One of the, another state race that I know we're bouncing around all over the place here, but one race that we have been following as well too, it's the Senate District 28, Brian King and Bobby Ballinger. There was a lot of talk in this race. Brian King has over the last several months been a very, very, very vocal opponent against anything that has to do with that prison. Bobby Ballinger also came in and became a Republican candidate to vie for that District 28 GOP seat for Arkansas District 28. And right now, Brian King with, I'm trying to see how many of the votes have been counted, 33% of the vote counted, that Brian King has 56% of the vote and Bobby Ballinger has 44% of the vote. There's about 500 or so votes that separate those two candidates in that race.
Another interesting thing is Brian King actually beat Ballinger's dad last cycle.
That's right. The name sounds very familiar. And then there's one other race that we have been following as well too, and I believe it is the where did that race go? Court of Appeals race. Brandon Carter, and I don't know that we have, I guess we don't have any votes in that just yet, but Brandon Carter and Sarah Kapp are running for this Court of Appeals Position 1 race. And one thing I believe we have found out that, and I don't know that we have a record of that just yet, or at least votes counted in that just yet, but Sarah Kapp easily won in Fayetteville, in Washington County tonight. And that's with early voting reported in. Now, we don't have any numbers here yet. I think we're still trying to get those in, but from what we've gathered so far is that Sarah Kapp actually beat Brandon Carter in Washington County this evening, and then we'll see how far this goes or where this goes between now. Okay, we're getting our political insider here. Kapp with 9,000 votes in Washington County and Carter with 8,000. Is that 5,000? 5,000 votes in Washington County. Again, this is a statewide race. There's just in this area, right? Northwest and River Valley. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of votes that have to be counted there, and we have to rely on the AP on that. In fact, I think we just got one in. There it is. If we could update that, Sarah Kapp has 76% of the vote, Brandon Carter with 24% of the vote. That's everything counted so far, at least from what we've gotten in from AP. In the House District 2, I think you talked about this. U.S. House District 2, that is Chris Jones has been declared the Democratic challenger there, or winner there. He will face French Hill or Charles McDowell, and French Hill has already been declared the winner in that race.
So it looks like that one will be French Hill and Chris Jones for District 2.
All right. Anything else? Let's see. Nothing new has come in from Sebastian County in the last 10 minutes or so. So I think we're good there. We might want to revisit the sheriff's race. Nope, that still has not been updated there. All right. So here's what we'll do. Let's take another break. We're going to let these election results loop throughout the rest of the evening, or at least for the next 20 minutes, and we will come back at 9 o'clock. Hopefully we'll have a few more projected winners, at least on the statewide level, and maybe a better idea of some of these local races as well. So we'll see how that goes. All right, get you back into 5 News Plus, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes. look what they gave us to start playing with now.
Yeah.
We actually spend a little bit of money. No, I'm just kidding. This thing's always been here, but we're at what we call our touch screen now because we want to go. We're going to put it to use. We're going to go through a lot of the major races that we have been following all evening. Most of these have had projected winners already.
Yes, but you can see here. So this for the U.S. Senate race for Arkansas, we've got pretty much our two contenders decided here. Tom Cotton with 82.2% of the vote. Not a surprise there. So he will be the Republican candidate for this. And then our Democratic primary, we have Hallie Schaffner. This has also been projected as the winner with 79.3% of the vote. So those two will be on your ballot in November.
That's going to be an interesting race because she is, a lot of folks will say that she is a down-home candidate in that she is, what, a third, fourth generation?
Sixth generation
farmer.
Arkansas rice farmer.
In the central part of the state and is a relative of Martha Schaffner, who you'll remember a number of years ago, who was the state treasurer, who got into a little bit of trouble with the law. But at the same time, she's obviously got a pretty good showing here with 78% of the vote.
And of course, Cotton served in the Senate since, what, 2015?
Yes, he's been there for a long time.
So that'll be on your ballot in November. Moving on to our Democratic primary for the governor's race. This one's, we got Fred Love projected the winner of this one with 81.6% of the vote to go on to face Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who did not have a Republican
candidate. Yeah. And Fred Love is a state senator in Little Rock. And so the name recognition there in Little Rock is pretty set. What his challenge is now is going to be get that name recognition around the rest of the state. Obviously, the governor has the name recognition there. So we'll be seeing a lot more, I believe, Fred Love in various parts of the state where he will favor the most, and so that'll be what he that'll be his challenge now as far as trying to beat Sarah Huckabee Sanders in November.
Yeah, another interesting thing about the governor's race we haven't talked about yet recently, I think Colt Shelby announced his bid for governor, Libertarian candidate. And if you'll remember, he was actually the Franklin County resident.
That's right, that filed the lawsuit.
Yes, about, you remember the District 26 Senate seat timeline. The date's been changed a few times, but he was saying we need to get this moved up to vote on it as soon as possible. That ended up happening. That's why we're voting on this in the primary, but that's who that is. So he'll also be on the ballot in November.
Yeah, so there'll be three candidates for governor in November: Fred Love, and Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
And then Colt
Shelby. All right, let's go down to the Secretary of State. There is three candidates here. This will more than likely be a runoff between Kim Hammer and Brian Norris, should things stay the way they are. Right now, this is a very close race. We're talking 6,000 votes statewide that separate these three candidates. So as this goes on, this is going to be a really fun race to watch. The winner of this, and it looks like it will be a runoff, Kelly Groppe, I believe is how you say her name. She is the Democrat candidate for Secretary of State. Whoever wins this will face her in November.
Yes, and to talk about these three Republican candidates here, Kim Hammer, I believe, is a senator right now. Brian Norris, longtime U.S. Army veteran, and then Kathy Harrison is currently a Miller County judge, I believe. So those are those, and like you said, probably going to be looking at a runoff here.
This is going to be really close right here. All right, let's go down to now.
No, we're not doing land
because
we've been having some issues.
We've been having some issues with that coming in.
Yes, but I'll click on it anyway because we can talk about
Colt Jester.
Obviously, it's not 0% of the vote here. We've got some issues with our polling numbers.
I believe he's already been picked.
Yes,
winner,
but yes, we have Colt Jester, Secretary of State, now running for this. One thing to mention about this, we've been talking about this with several of our races. Some of them, when people have been appointed by the governor, they cannot run for re-election in the same role. So that's why we got Colt Jester vacating his role as Secretary of State and now being projected as a winner for Land Commissioner.
I believe the governor appointed him before as Secretary of State. Now he's running for Land Commissioner there too. So Supreme Court, this has been an interesting race. And you don't think a lot about the two candidates or even a race for the state Supreme Court, but they hold a lot of power. And there's something that's very interesting about Nick Bronny. He is not the incumbent, so get rid of that I right there. These two, the two candidates actually for different positions on the Supreme Court actually switched. You can't run for re-election in one spot, so now you got to go for another spot. Nick Bronny, though, I believe, was one that the governor had fought a lot for.
Yes, and so he's not the incumbent. He is serving on the Supreme Court. This is for position 3. So he's currently serving on position 6. Cody Highland is serving on position 3. So they're trying to swap, and Cody Highland is running unopposed for his seat. But so Nicholas Bronny trying to run for this one. He can't run for position 6 because he's been appointed by Governor Sanders and endorsed by her. And then John Adams, he is a local attorney in Little Rock. And so that's
you can see that he is doing well down there because I believe he was in the state legislature representing the central.
He was representing the Central Public Library. There's state law that could, I guess, give criminal charges to librarians for providing harmful materials to children. He was representing the Central Public Library system.
And he was a candidate for a seat in the legislature as a Democratic candidate, but did not win. But his name recognition obviously is showing up there in Central Arkansas.
So definitely pulling his weight in this
Exactly,
race.
So we'll see how that goes too. But that race is only separated by about 4,000 votes or so.
Yes. So moving on to this one, this is one where we have a Republican and Democratic primary. I think both have now been, we've got.
No surprise here with French Hill getting nearly 77% of the vote. That race was called pretty quickly. It's not in our viewing area, but again, it still has to do with congressional representation in Arkansas, especially in Central Arkansas.
And French Hill, high ranking in Congress now,
exactly, yes.
And then this is the Democratic primary. So Chris Jones, huge, 92.8% of the vote.
I was going to say he was in the last governor's race. He was the Democratic candidate and lost obviously to Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. But his name recognition, I know I'd say that a lot about, but a good percentage of the reason why you win a race is because of your name recognition, and because of that race 4 years ago with the governor, 2 years ago with the governor, that he has done very well in the central part of Arkansas.
Yes, and so for this race for District 2, we'll have French Hill and Chris Jones on the ballot in November.
All right, this is the one that covers, my goodness, that's all the way from north central Arkansas all the way down to the South Arkansas. This is District 2. James Russell and Stephen O'Donnell. This is a very close race. This is for the Democratic primary, the Democratic candidate that will face Bruce Westerman in November. This one is still with a little bit more than half of the vote counted. This one is still very close to call as far as who is going to be the candidate. There may be some numbers that are off on this a little bit. I think there's a lot of these counties that have not been reported in yet. So these numbers are still low, although there's not a lot of population in this part of the state too that will have to be counted.
But this district does cover a large part of the state.
Yes.
So in our area, let's see, we've got Franklin and Johnson counties.
Yeah, Logan County, it's part of Sebastian County. There's Scott County, and there's Polk County down here. Then you got Scott County there. So there is quite a bit that this covers in our area. And it looks like right now that overall hit totals, I think if you have to hit totals.
Oh, yes.
Right now that James Russell is leading in the Democratic primary for this.
All right.
Okay, this is the State House District 24. This covers the southern part of Washington County and a lot of Crawford County. Charlene Fite used to be the state rep in District 24 up until a few years ago, and then she decided to retire. When this position came back open again, a lot of people loved her so much that they talked her out of retirement. She is not having any trouble winning this race so far, with about 69% of the vote counted. Charlene Fite's got almost 70% of the vote going into that. So looks like that could be called about any time now. I would assume that AP will make a projection on that pretty much any time.
Yeah. And here's one that's, of course, closely watched by lots of people in our region. State Senate District 26, of course, for the seat vacated by Senator Stubblefield.
Right.
It's passing back in September. We've got Brad Simon leading right now with 68.3% of the vote.
Not a surprise there, just by the campaigning that has happened and what Brad Simon has had to go through over the past several months, with not only a lawsuit that was filed, they moved up the election date, so the campaigning had to get into full gear real quick. There was a runoff between Brad Simon and Wade Dunn. Brad Simon came out on top of that. Adam Watson didn't really have to do too much, although he was the gravel and grit leader, or at least one of the founders of Gravel and Grit, who has just been adamantly opposed to any plan about building a prison in Franklin County. I think the surprise here is how many votes he actually has gotten so far. Now with 63% of the vote, there's still a little bit left to count. That gap might shrink just a little bit. But what's interesting about this is we can click on each area and see where these votes have come from. Now, that's no surprise because I believe that Brad Simon is from Logan County, so there's no surprise there.
Yes, exactly. And then we can take a look at Sebastian County. Similar numbers here.
Franklin County, well, see, he's from Franklin County, so I would have thought that Adam Watson would have had a little bit better showing, but that's still not bad. There's like less than 150 votes that separate there as well. But Brad Simon is obviously pretty far ahead now in Johnson County as well.
I'm interested to see actually how many voters showed out in Franklin County compared to the others, because of course that's where the prison's going to be.
was going to go,
so
yes.
It looks like it's pretty even all around with voter turnout.
We have 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer, who is in Paris, I believe at Brad Simon's watch party, and we're going to hopefully hear from him tonight on your 5 News at 10 over on Channel 5. There's still a lot of votes to be counted here. So, and by no means with just hit totals again, just to make sure. There's 3,700 vote difference there. So will that gap shrink? Maybe, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Last 2 ones we're looking at here. This is State House District 40.
46,
excuse me. Republican.
Yeah, this replaces John Eubanks. It covers parts of Logan County and Franklin County. And right now, Ronnie Young has 32% of the,
That was just Franklin County.
Okay, this is total. Look at this. It's only a 1 vote difference between Curtis Varnell and Tanya Fletcher.
Yeah.
This will more than likely be a runoff election.
Oh my goodness. And saying it again, 1 vote
One vote difference.
If you think that it doesn't matter to vote in the primary, this is your proof.
Hey, wait, I may get a chance to draw here. Look at the difference right here. That is where your vote counts. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, let's see if you can get that off
see if I
now.
can.
And also make it where we can not.
Okay, now try it and see if it goes anywhere. Hey, I did it.
You did it perfectly. That was great.
All right, and this is the other interesting race, Senate District 28. Brian King has been more than outspoken about not having that jail in Franklin County, even though a very small part of his representation is in Franklin County. Yeah, see, they haven't come in a lot there, but yeah.
There's Franklin.
Brian King has been a very outspoken opponent of the jail that is proposed to be built there in Franklin County. Right now, hit totals real quick, and we can tell you that he's only ahead by 515 votes. What's interesting about this, and we talked about this with the state Supreme Court candidate, Bobby Ballinger was targeted by the governor for her support. And she made no bones about that. She was going to go and be a supporter of Bobby Ballinger. Right now, he is not winning this election. So we'll see how this pans out the rest of the night. There's still quite a bit of voting left to count with just 39%. I would assume that race is going to become even closer, even though it's only 515 votes.
Another interesting thing about this one is King beat Ballinger's father last cycle. So kind of a rematch of sorts here. And again, Governor Sanders backing Ballinger, showing a lot of support for him. Brian King has clashed with the governor at times because of he's been very outspoken against the Franklin County Prison, which she's, of course, advocated for.
And what's interesting about this race as well is, we're watching it here, but every lawmaker and every person that is in support of, and for that matter, against the jail being built in Franklin County is watching this race as well.
Yeah.
Not only watching this race, but the District 26 race. And so there's quite a bit on the line between these two races, and it may be way late into tonight before these two races are decided. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that is our breeze through a lot of these races. We have so many more that we are following, and if you stay here on 5 News Plus, you've been watching them loop throughout the evening. We're going to send you back to that, and we may not come back until now. Our 5 News at 10. Right here on 5 News Plus and on Channel 5. That way we can get a really good grasp on any late numbers that are coming in. And by then we'll be able to check with our reporters and see how things are going at a lot of these watch parties and where the candidates are, and just to get a feeling as to how they see things right now.
Yeah, so we'll be watching the races all across the area, all across the state. We have our reporters in Washington, Sebastian, and Logan counties specifically watching these races. So we'll be keeping track of that for you. And for now, we'll let you get back to seeing the results. We'll check back in on your 5 News at 10.
Hey, good Tuesday, everybody. 5 News Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert here on the Weather Impact 24/7 stream. A busy forecast ahead of us. Let's get straight to the latest updates around the area. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be waking up in the low 60s. A pretty mild start to the day. Chance of rain about 40%, primarily in northwest Arkansas. There could be a couple of thunderstorms as well. Wouldn't rule that out. But in terms of the severe weather parameters, those are going to be a little bit higher later in the afternoon into the evening. Overall, it turns out to be a pretty mild day. In terms of tonight's severe weather potential, we've got a very small sliver of far northwestern Benton County as well as Delaware County. That's under a level 1 out of 5. That's going to be tonight through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Overall, we're not too concerned with that first initial round. Can't entirely rule it out, but I think we'll probably see some scattered rain showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, and at worst, some small hail coming out of those cells. And that would be at worst. Not expecting much of that. By the afternoon, the atmosphere is going to be a bit more destabilized. We're going to be warm and muggy. It's just going to have that feel. You kind of know that feeling I'm talking about. We've got severe weather in the forecast. I mean, we've got upper 70s in the River Valley. That's going to come with a decent amount of humidity as well. Meanwhile, in northwest Arkansas, with some of those early showers lingering a little bit later, we're not going to get as warm. I expect those highs to top out in the upper 60s, near 70 degrees. You will notice, though, our chance of storms on our Wednesday now up to 80%, and a couple of those very well could be strong, potentially even severe. We really think the window is going to be between 3 o'clock and midnight for the strongest of storms. The impacts haven't changed at all this week. We're going to be consistent with that forecast moving forward. Large hail, the primary concern, followed by damaging wind gust, and the tornado threat is rather low, but it's not zero. I can't entirely rule it out. There's just enough of some of those key ingredients that are going to be coming together that I can't entirely rule it out. So as we go into the next 24 hours, there's a couple of things you probably should know. Number one, we're going to have a lot of streams going right here as well as on our mobile app. We'll do Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all of the things as well. It's been a while since we've had some severe weather. Maybe you've moved to a new house. Maybe you just kind of got disoriented. Where am I supposed to go in the event of a storm? Go ahead and review those safety plans with your family. The severe weather risk is on the lower end of the scale. Most of us are under a level 2 out of 5. This has changed slightly for a few folks, but by and large, this has been pretty consistent from earlier this week. If you're not under a level 2, you're at least under a level 1 risk. That would be northwestern Benton County as well as most of Delaware County in Oklahoma. Again, that's going to be for our Wednesday potential. Let's walk through Futurecast here. 8 o'clock in the morning, you're noticing some strong thunderstorms across Benton County, northwest Arkansas. If you got a flight out of XNA early in the morning, you might want to be mindful of that. Probably going to be some slow travel up and down 49 as a result of some of those scattered thunderstorms. A few of those are going to be drifting further towards the south. They're going to be losing a little bit of steam by mid to late morning. They're still probably going to be annoying, though. That's, I think, what we can get ready for in this first wave. You'll notice there's a bit of a lull in the activity by 2, 3, 4 o'clock, at which point we start to see the main show begin to materialize. When we talk about the main show, this is where, if thunderstorms are to become severe, where it's most likely to happen. 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, we've got some thunderstorms around the area, and they're semi-discrete. Eventually, they are going to congeal into a squall line as they track towards the east, at which point the threat becomes less so hail, more so damaging wind with that isolated potential of a quick spin-up tornado. By 11 o'clock tomorrow night, going into midnight, our stationary front becomes just that, stationary. It's not going to move much, and that's going to continue to be the focal point for some additional rounds of rain, maybe even some thunderstorms overnight into Thursday morning. You can see those continue kind of building on and off through sunrise at least, with some very well continuing in the River Valley and south of Interstate 40 well beyond the 8 a.m. hour, and that very well could continue through the middle part of tomorrow. Let's talk about the storm fuel available for some of these storms. You got the legend at the top of the screen. We start to see those green storm fuel. I wish it was lower, but it ain't too bad. Until we get to late tomorrow afternoon into the evening, at which point we start to find some pockets of some more moderate storm fuel. Those thunderstorms that do develop are going to be able to tap into that, and that's where we had that severe weather concern. It's not the worst severe weather event we've ever had, but it is enough of a concern that we'll have the full team here, and we do expect to track some severe thunderstorms. Let's hope they can behave as much as they can. It doesn't end there, I'm afraid. Going into Friday, we're going to have another chance of severe storms. If you were with us on the stream last night, I told you the data was backing off, but I wasn't sold. Well, I had good reason not to be sold. As we look ahead now, that data has come back and says, yeah, actually there are going to be some ingredients in place. And so because of that, the Storm Prediction Center has outlined all of our area under at least a level 2 risk for Friday night into Saturday, with parts of Benton, Delaware, Adair, and Sequoia counties under a level 3 risk, which admittedly is relatively high for this far out. Doesn't mean it's a slam dunk, doesn't mean that forecast is locked in, but it does grab my attention. And I want to pass that along to you. So as you're making your Friday into Saturday plans, you can kind of be mindful that there is going to be at least be the potential of some severe storms. Now, rainfall projections over the next 7 days, still on track between 3 to 6 inches. It doesn't all fall at once, right? So this is going to be between now and next Tuesday, in which the weather pattern does remain notably active. There's going to be additional chances of rain and thunderstorms well into next week. So it does pile up slowly, but we'll watch it to make sure we don't have any additional flash flooding. Your 7-day forecast for Northwest Arkansas calls for that weather impact alert the second half of our Wednesday. That's why you see the red there on your screen. By Thursday, the chance of rain about 60%. Could see some thunderstorms early in the morning with some drier weather expected by the afternoon into the evening. That allows temperatures to warm up. And with Friday's rain chance also being more late in the day, it'll allow that atmosphere to warm up and become further destabilized with afternoon highs in the mid to upper 70s in Northwest Arkansas. You'll see Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's a busy weather pattern with multiple chances of rain and storms in it. I think in terms of watching for severe weather, of course, we've got to watch tomorrow into tomorrow night. And then we'll, of course, watch Friday into Saturday. There very well could be additional chances going into next week, but those details remain rather fuzzy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it one day at a time. And truthfully, that's about all you can do. This time of the year, severe weather season is certainly among us. We'll be here on the 24/7 stream around the clock with live updates planned continuously until the threat has passed.
Some of these local candidates are not off the hook just yet, as there's now a few runoff races.
As early voting continues, we are a week away from primary election day in Arkansas, where political parties will choose who will represent them on the ballot in November. Voters will also have a chance to weigh in on nonpartisan races. So we asked a local elections expert to explain what's different about this year's primary. In the primary election, political parties choose who their candidates will be in the November general election. Arkansas has traditionally had an open primary system, meaning voters can simply pick which party's ballot they want. This year, Jennifer Price, Washington County Director of Elections, says everyone can still get the ballot they choose, but some will have to complete extra paperwork.
For an individual who is a registered Democrat who wants to request a Republican ballot, they do have to fill out a new voter registration form at the polls while they're voting to change their party affiliation to either blank or optional, or they can register as a Republican either way.
That's because the Republican Party has a closed primary this year, while the Democratic primary remains open to all voters.
For every voter that comes in, they're going to be asked a question of which ballot would you like?
There are three options: Democratic, Republican, or nonpartisan ballots.
This is where the biggest confusion comes, because most of our voters in Washington County are registered as optional. It shows up in our poll book as nonpartisan, though. That is not the ballot that voter is required to take.
She says the nonpartisan ballot only includes judicial, school, and certain local races. It does not include political candidates. She recommends knowing ahead of time what you want to vote for so you can choose the right ballot, and checking VoterView online.
It's going to show if they are registered to vote. It's going to show what their address is. It will show how they're registered to vote, which political party they're registered to vote with, and then all three ballot choices will be available for the voter to review.
Price also reminds voters that participating in the primary is important not just for selecting party candidates for November, but also for those key nonpartisan races.
Our Arkansas Supreme Court judges, it's also our prosecuting attorney, it's also all of our circuit court judges, appeals. They are elected through this nonpartisan judicial general election. You also have the school election on there as well for your school millages, which is where a large portion of your taxes go.
Price says it's also important to note there are 4 contested Republican races this year, which could mean a runoff on March 31st. To vote in that runoff, you'll need to either take a Republican or nonpartisan ballot in the primary. You can also read about all the races and find early voting sites where you live with our primary election guide on our website. You can also just text the word VOTE to the number you see on your screen, and we will send you a link to that guide on 5newsonline.com.
Jay Cantrell.
Mike Stewart.
I'm the Washington County Sheriff.
I'm the Chief of Staff for Washington County.
Incumbent Jay Cantrell and challenger Mike Stewart are no strangers to the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
I've been here at the Sheriff's Office for over 44 years.
I started working here in August of 2011.
Stewart joined the Washington County Sheriff's after serving 2 tours in the Air Force.
And it just really gave me a sense of wanting to continue my service.
And Cantrell has devoted his life to law enforcement.
This is where I've spent my whole career. From the time I was 21.
Both men share experience at the Washington County Sheriff's Office and both agree on the major challenges facing it, from overcrowding.
The jail overcrowding, that's a big issue no matter where you're at in the country. The problem there is that we've got to figure out what's broken and try to fix it.
Obviously, we've got a chronically overcrowded jail, and so that's something that we're going to have to think about.
To recidivism.